Welcome to part one of our swimming series, swimming programming. I want to keep that series quite short and easy, so you swimmers out there can incorporate these movements or inputs into your normal routine. It shouldn't take you longer than 5 to 10 minutes, something you can always do prior or after your pool routine. You don't need a gym for it, so you can also do it at home. There's no excuses. In this part, which is going to be the first one of a series I'm going to be doing, we're going to cover some basic releases, areas that tend to be tender in most swimmers that I've worked with, people in general as well, but swimmers especially. And then afterwards we're going to start off with some strengthening and mainly mobility exercises that tend to address also obviously areas that tend to function a little bit differently in swimmers or in people that move in a horizontal way in water as they do sport. So that's mainly swimmers in that case. For the releases, we're going to use a foam roll, which is just the easiest to make available. You can also obviously use tennis balls or all sorts of round and optimally hard things. We're going to cover 3 areas in that first part. The first one is going to be the calf, so just make sure you go from right underneath your knee all the way down to your calcaneus. You go over the Achilles tendon, over the gastrocs, over the soleus, and you just try to find tender spots. Obviously the smaller the area that you apply the pressure on, so if you use a ball, it's going to be more painful because the area is smaller. So you start with a foam roll if you have one. If you don't have one, just start with a softer ball, and then just roll alongside your muscle and your tendons, so the soft tissue, and look out for tender spots. If you find one, just stay on it for a while, and just as if you were massaging yourself, you kind of apply that pressure to release the tension. After that one, we're going to flip over and go over our quad, especially the upper portions, like the upper half of our thigh, going all the way over our hip. We have that pelvic bone here, the ASIS. We want to go right underneath that, as this is the origin for our rectus femoris. And then we go all the way over our thigh, just as if we were working the calf. We also want to make sure we work the outer portions, the inner portions, wherever it's most tender. That's the zone where you want to work at the most. I don't like to give recommendations on time, as I really try to make people understand that they need to find tender spots. They need to get a feeling for when the tension is released, when it's good, and usually you go like a minute or 2 on each body part, because obviously you don't want to get it extended too long either. For the last one, we're going to sit on the foam roll like that. We're going to get one leg on top, and then on the leg which is in external rotation, so the upper leg, on that butt cheek, we release the glutes, also looking for tender spots. As easy as that. Just go as long as you can, as long as you can make time, and then we can already crack on with the mobility part, which we're going to start in a seated position, in a so-called 90-90. We're going to work something that is very uncommon for swimmers if they're not really focusing on breaststroke, which is external and internal rotation of our hips. So for most of you swimmers, it's going to be even hard to get into that position, so you can just lean back a little bit more. And then we keep our feet where they are and just move over to the other side, trying to maintain that 90-degree angle, that 90-degree angle, and a 90-degree angle within those 90-degree angles. If you can, you're trying to get rid of the hands, keeping your spine as long as you can. If you move slightly on the floor, doesn't matter either, but you want to go from side to side and get the hips loose, which is basically what we build the foundation for by doing the foam rolling beforehand. After that, we're gonna lay down on our back, placing the heels on the ground, pulling the feet towards our nose. Now we lift up one leg, we slightly bring our pelvis up so we can play around with that neutral pelvis position a little bit, pulling the bottom end of our pelvis slightly up towards our belly button, so we already get a little bit of activation. And then by pulling that knee to our chest, we squeeze the butt cheek and really get the hip to full extension. So we want to be aware of not finishing down here, but all the way up. We come back down. Also try not to rotate that way, but really keep your pelvis parallel to the floor as you start, and then you go all the way up, feeling that contraction in your hamstring. We go to full hip extension. Why? Because as we're flutter kicking, we're obviously always missing that last bit of extension, which tends to then provoke a lot of lumbar spine issues, all sorts of stuff down the road. Is originated in bad hip function, which is why we keep that in that first part. Then afterwards we want to move already up to 2 feet and just do a basic air squat. So if I give you the side view, we want to maintain our spine not straight but innervated. We don't want to go down all the way like that. We want to keep our spine as long as we can, squat down as deep as we can. If we notice that we lose the pelvis at the bottom as we're not loading the squat, it's not really that dramatic either, but we want to keep our chest up and get our bum back, and like this we should be able to perform 10-15 squats easily before we notice a little bit of a burn in our thighs or our glutes. In terms of repetitions and times on the tension, you can play around a little bit, obviously depending on your level and the time you want to invest. After that, we already skip over to the next part, which is going to be an exercise that I call the dynamic star. I'm pretty sure there's different names out there for that exact exercise, but names don't really matter. In any way, we want to keep that leg long, pull the feet up, then we pull our other knee towards the chest, extend that leg, bring it down on the other side. Meanwhile, we keep this shoulder over here on the floor, then we come back up, put it back down and switch over to the other side. What I want to achieve with that exercise is moving that part around here. So it's really fundamental to keep that shoulder down and just go as far as your range of motion permits you to go. We don't need to throw our legs around, there's no need for that. All we want to do in that phase is mobilize and get our body used or primed for functional movement. So we really try to address things that don't really happen that much in swimming, and therefore tend to be missing in your movement patterns. If you just get these 4 exercises done a couple of times before or after your swim, or in addition in front of TV at night, you will notice a benefit after 2 or 3 weeks, and then you're ready for the second part, which I'm gonna be doing right now.